A very good evening to you and thank you for watching Ogun State Television. Here is the main news for today. I am Idowu, Fabajo. Tonight, the first batch of Ogun State CFO beneficiaries receives documents. President Buhari, U.S. Secretary of State in telephone conversation. Egypt opens Gaza border for Ramadan period. Every success is usually an admission ticket to a new set of decisions.
Good evening, my name is Tunde Olanero, and on the business news tonight, Nigeria-Norway trade volume hit $40 billion. These and many more when I return.
And on sport news tonight, former UEFA boss Platini admits to World Cup manipulation. Stay tuned for more sporting stories. My name is Moses or Jeremy.
Let's begin with the All Progressives Congress APC Ogun State chapter, who has formally announced that the governorship slot for the 2019 election has been zoned to Ogun West Senatorial District. Rising from a stakeholders meeting in Idowu, the party says a mutual agreement was reached to have the slot zoned to Ogun West. The party's chairman, Alhaji Tajuddin Lemboye, who made the announcement, said the decision is born out of fairness and equity. Meanwhile, the State Congress of the All Progressives Congress APC Ogun State chapter is slated to hold on Saturday 19th of May 2018. Time is 9 in the morning. The Congress holds at the open field L-Pad behind June 12 Cultural Center, Kuto, Abeokuta. The release adds that the event is strictly for party delegates. In the meantime, the Traffic Compliance and Enforcement Corps, TRACE, has advised delegates to the Congress to park their vehicles inside the MKO Abiola Stadium, International Stadium, Abeokuta. In a release by Corps Commander Sheni Ogbuyemi, delegates will then take a walk to the Congress ground, as no vehicle would be allowed to enter or park within the Congress ground. To aid vehicular and human movement, TRACE operatives would be strategically positioned for direction and guidance, and therefore advised all delegates to adhere to all arrangements. Another set of beneficiaries who applied for the certificate of occupancy under the Homeowners Charter Program have received their title documents with chance of a premium on government for the initiative. Morenikeji Shobaloju has the details of the distribution exercise.
The program, which will in turn skyrocket the opportunities of the 7 landlords and landladies who are bona fide owners of their property through the official possession of their title document, is now in its 31st edition. These are members of public who are applicants under the Homeowners Charter Program, gathered to fulfill the dream.
Applicants are engaged to make inquiries, return the information, and help the desk officers provide quick solutions to their inquiries.
The 31st edition of the subsidized rate of the issuance of the title document, according to the State Governor, Senator Ebikunle Amosun, who was represented by the Commissioner for Health, Dr. Babatunde Ikpaye, is with number of benefits which are to the advantage of the beneficiaries.
This is a combination of 2 things, and that is the way we as a government have seen it. It is, first, a significant improvement on our physical infrastructure. The second is that this also represents a social infrastructure.
Mindful of the fact that the current government under which the program was conceived is winding up, Dr. Babatunde Ikpaye reaffirms the government's commitment to ensure every successful applicant gets their certificate of occupancy.
His Excellency Senator Ebikunle also committed to making this a success, and we have seen that the final lap of this regime, we are making this a very huge success. And so it's like a 2-legged benefit. And people should reciprocate this happiness by supporting the government of the Senator Ebikunle.
Words of appreciation filled the mouths of beneficiaries, praising the state government's initiative.
The time I want to travel, everybody said I should go and bring myself. Then I was denied it. But now I can apply for anything, for bank loan, everything. I thank God for that. My name is sitting there. It's true.
Nobody can just come to my house and claim it because by so I got certificate from the governor, signed by the governor, and everything is from the governor. So I'm bona fide owner of that property.
Beneficiaries' transaction with the state government through the homeowners charter program was authenticated through a final validation done at the point of collection of the title documents. Murenikeje Shabaleju, OGTV News.
The mission to rebuild agenda of the current administration in Ogun State has been commended for its giant strides in infrastructure development across the state. Our reporter Tunde Olaniro reports on people's commendation of the huge infrastructure development going on at NNPC Kuto axis of Abeokuta, the Ogun State capital. His report.
The governor of Ogun State, Senator Bukunle Amosun's administration has proven in the last 7 years its seriousness about infrastructure development with the objective of making living and businesses easy and conducive in Ogun State. The flyover at NNPC mega station is already completed, giving the location a new aesthetic. Now, workers moved through Moshood Abiola International Stadium to the popular Kuto roundabout.
Kuto roundabout is a part of the whole package of the Shagamu-Abeokuta road. So we started it. It's the 10-lane thing that we always talked about. That's starting from MTD that goes all the way to Shagamu. You know, why we do not have the full funding, you know, to do everything now. We started those nodes where there are always problems. We're resolving them with the bridges. We've completed the NNPC successfully. We're moving to Kuto, and of course it's work is going on all the way. Like the Excellency said, we work till when we leave office. You know, when we're handing over on May 29, we'll still be working, and hopefully whoever comes in picks it up from that 29 and keeps doing the work.
Traders, commuters and pedestrians react to this.
tó jẹlẹ̀ ní pé difference ti wà láti ìgbà tó ti bá wa ṣe ọ̀nà yìí tá a ti rí bó ti ń ṣe ọrọ̀ ajé wa ti ń yàtọ̀ díẹ̀díẹ̀ so bet a wò níwò pé kọ́lọ́run túbọ̀ kún wọn lọ́wọ́ kọ́lọ́run jẹ́ kán lè parí ẹ̀ ẹ̀mí wọn tó bẹ̀rẹ̀ náà ló máa parí ẹ̀ lágbára Ọlọ́run so àwọn iṣẹ́ kọ̀ọ̀kan wà síbi tó sì kù sí tá a sì rí níwò pé tán bá parí ọ̀nà yìí kán bá wa ṣọ̀nà ìdẹ́ta change a dẹ̀ rí pé èròǹgbà ìbíkúlé ó mú lè rí ẹ̀ṣẹ̀ ọ̀nà yẹn náà tó ń ṣe bọ̀ àrípọ̀ wọn kọ́ńpìn iléeṣẹ́ wọn ti ń wọlé wá láti interchange wá sí Abẹ́òkúta ń bí báyìí.
This is my first time coming here anyway, and although I've been here, but this is my first time was seeing this project, and I've been giving glory to God, to the government while I saw this, and as per the economic benefit, it will be of benefit. No benefits for the people there. As we come here now, there's no go slow or anything. Finances was all right. Now that's why I'm giving thanks to God and to the government of the states for doing this type of project.
So right now, people are suffering for it now, but I can assure you that in the next 1 year now, so people will be enjoying it. I think there will be a flyover here, 1 year, another one over there. I'm sure that by this time everything will be done here in Abeokuta. I think Abeokuta will become like America or London or a big country like that. So
infrastructure development obviously plays a great role in socio-economic development of any society, and with the intervention of the government of Ogun State in this axis, economic development is expected to start booming and in turn multiply on the general economy of the state. Tunde Olaniro, OGTV News.
Ogun State Governor Senator Ibikunle Amosun has charged religious institutions to desist from materialism and social vices which endangers the society. Governor Amosun gave this charge at the official opening of the 12th Synod of the Anglican Diocese of Remo, held at St. Martha's Anglican Church, Shagamu. Represented by his deputy, Chief Mrs. Yetunde Ononuga, Governor Amosun admonished the church to center its message to its members from focusing on corruptible acts that would lead to abject poverty and stagnancy in the society. The governor noted that his administration would continue to initiate programs that would promote positive religious values to the citizens through inculcating the principles of righteousness.
As we are assembled to appraise the church's growth, it is advisable that we seek better understanding amongst members and position the future developmental goals within the broader spectrum of the society. A proactive concentration and integration of positive ideals, virtues, and values will help us optimize the developmental opportunities being created by the existing democratic platform, even as our administration is determined to secure a better future for the people of Ogun State.
While congratulating the diocese on the official opening of the 12th Synod, he enjoined them to maintain good attitude towards work in order to make the economy of the country thrive. In his goodwill message, the Bishop Diocese of Remo, Most Reverend Dr. Olushina Fakpi, urged political office holders to be Christ-like and not be swayed away with negative influence. The month of Ramadan must be seen as a period of uniformity, love, and extending hands of fellowship to one another as a reflection and commandment of Almighty Allah. Muslim clerics made this known during the first Jumat service in the period of Ramadan in Abeokuta, Ogun State capital. Yusuf Ganiyu reports.
It is the first Jumat service in this period of Ramadan. To this end, Muslim faithful turn out in their usual manners to reflect on the teachings and tenets of Islam. However, it's important for Muslim faithful to take cognizance of this season of Ramadan by praying wholeheartedly in fulfilling the commandments of Allah.
But Ramadan is a month for us to be able to improve spiritually, for us to be able to diffuse ourselves from all the material tendencies, desperation, inadequacies that we need to keep in touch with.
So this blessed month, as we are striving to become the beloved of God, then we should pray more for our country, because it is better for Nigeria. Definitely it will also be better more for us in this country as well.
Extending hands of fellowship to the needy and the less privileged is an indication of worship that is done out of kindness to promote love and understanding.
No, we have to pray for the country. This country needs prayer. You see, we are going to the next dispensation now. So to have it peaceful, we need prayer. So I will enjoy all Muslims all over the country to pray for this country, because we don't have other country than Nigeria. So we need.
This is time to give out arms to poor people. If you have, give to those that do not have.
Prayers were thereafter offered for the peace and progress of the nation. Yusuf Ganiyu, OGTV News.
You're watching OGTV main news, and still to come, federal government restates commitment to tackling youth unemployment. We will bring you the details shortly.
During an emergency, people tend to run away from the scene of danger. My job requires that I do the exact opposite. There was once a sweet girl who was in a car accident. The ordeal had taken a toll on me, but I had no time for pain. A couple of weeks later, I was about to head home when I had an unexpected visitor. She had insisted to her mother that she would bring a piece of cake for the man who helped save her life. The world needs people who save lives.
It's up to us, all of us. The safety of our communities is in our hands. The police need our help and support. Boko Haram threatens our lives, our future, our country. But Nigeria belongs to us. God has blessed us with this rich land. Let us protect her as we protect each other. Report any criminal activity. Call these numbers. Your call is anonymous, and it is vitally important. Your support so far has been critical. Continuing it will make all the difference between a Nigeria of the fearful and a Nigeria of the free. Protect each other, for we are not terrorists. We are Nigerians. A message from the State Security Service.
You're welcome back. It is hardly mentioned that best scholars or genius make the top list of richest persons in the world, and it is becoming increasingly worrisome as the Nigerian society continues to place iron premium on the glamour and splendor offered by sports and entertainment than on academic excellence. In this report, Adifemi Adeyemo examines the reward system in education in comparison with reality shows. Details of our report is presented in this package.
Reality television shows have become a toast of the entertainment industry. In Nigeria, reality television programs have produced some of the biggest celebrities who were launched into limelight. These, however, have increased the get-rich-quick syndrome in the society today as parents now encourage their wards to join the movie industry, sports, especially football, and music academy so as to make it in life.
There's nothing wrong with entertainment, right? There's nothing, so I'm not going to gun it, but I do think that education is foundational to you being a successful person in any area, as opposed to not going to school because you want to get into entertainment. It doesn't really work like that, you know. So stay in school, get a good education, and ensure that you don't look for the get-rich-quick schemes, you know, because they don't last.
But all these reality shows will not take them anywhere. If they start, they get huge amount of money, they'll just squander everything. And at the end, they won't get anything. So, but with your certificates, you can go places.
Entertainment has its own advantages, no doubt, but educational experts are of the opinion that huge amount of money pumped in by various brands into television reality programs should be replicated in making education more attractive.
I'm not saying that if you have a talent, you shouldn't hone it. Hone the talent, exploit it, but don't forget that a career is what sustains you through life. Go through the rigors of education, primary, secondary, tertiary. Not everybody will go to university. Learn a skill that is scalable and sustainable. Those are two key words.
Some noted that the Nigerian society places high premium on entertainment than on education, as this has discouraged the younger generation from working hard and facing the rigor of success.
I prefer my first-class degree. Education is the best legacy.
First degree with a very good record like first class. Nobody is celebrating such a young person. But if you just put any form of music, if it's all about immorality and what have you, you see the society will be celebrating.
There is, however, a clarion call on corporate organizations, individuals, and government agencies to celebrate, promote, and honor academic excellence.
Neonatal jaundice is a common health issue in newborn infants. Undoubtedly, jaundice remains one of the main killers of newborns in Nigeria, with majority mostly in sub-Saharan Africa and South Asia. Shemilori Amore in this report takes a look at neonatal jaundice. Our report.
Neonatal jaundice is one of the leading causes of hospitalization or readmission for special care in the first week of life in newborns. Recent global estimates suggest that the vast majority can mostly be seen in sub-Saharan Africa and South Asia.
Neonatal jaundice can be basically classified as physiological or pathological. Physiological is that because of the amount of the red blood cells in them.
When a newborn baby has infection, it could lead to jaundice. The second one, if the blood of the mother and the blood group of the mother is not compatible with the blood group of the baby.
Pediatricians say jaundice among Nigerian preterm infants under special care is said to determine the incidence of clinical jaundice.
The first manifestation of neonatal jaundice is the genuineness that the parent or the caregiver of the baby knows there is the discoloration of the eye. So if, for example, it is due to an infection, the child can come down with fever. In severe cases, the child may not be able to suck very well. The child may be irritable, or in some cases, the child may be sleeping excessively.
The pigment that causes jaundice, which we call bilirubin, is toxic to the brain of a newborn infant because they have not fully developed the blood-brain barrier. So it could enter the brain, literally speaking, and get deposited in part of the brain, and it could damage part of the brain.
Ruling out the causes, symptoms, treatment and management, medical experts say if inappropriately managed, it may result in significant bilirubin-induced mortality and disability.
Put them on what we call under phototherapy. And what to cause this phototherapy is just to cause the conversion of this bilirubin. But in the severe cases, we may need to exchange the blood of the child.
That is, we change the baby's blood. It could be done once, twice, as often as it is necessary, in order to keep this bilirubin pigment, to keep it low. Because if it is below a certain threshold, then it will not cross the blood-brain barrier and cause a problem. Or if it is allowed to rise, then it could cross the blood-brain barrier.
They added that after diagnosis of jaundice, systematic and sustained intervention are needed to curtail it. Shemilori and More, OGTV News.
Over the years, people tend to overlook news reports of domestic violence against men or pass them off as extremely rare, but this is far from the truth. Data from several sociological studies covering domestic violences show that women do perpetrate domestic violence on men, just not nearly as often as men do on women. In this special report, our reporter takes a look at domestic violence against men, the causes, impact, and the way out. His report. When most people hear the term domestic violence, they often assume that a man is the aggressor. While this may be true in many of the reported cases, domestic violence against men is more common than people may think and can pose a serious threat to its victims. Fortunately, men are generally protected just as women are under most domestic violence laws. Taking a look at domestic violence against men, it was observed that generally the media, law enforcement agencies, and average Nigerians incorrectly view domestic violence as a crime committed solely by men on their female partners or spouses, but domestic violence against men is a reality.
Because of the socio-economic problem we have, many women now are taking positions in their family, in the society, even in the community. They are the one that is causing the shot. I've seen cases where the men rush to the police station to tell the I have been beaten so badly by my wife.
So it happened every day, and most of these events occurred and they are unreported and they are untreated because maybe the man is not willing, so that it will not seem as if the stronger vessel is trying to oppress the weaker vessel.
On the way out, there should be greater advocacy to enlighten the public about the existence and reality of the evil of domestic violence against men by government agencies, religious groups, and civil rights organizations, as this will help in balancing the gender discourse on domestic violence and bring about better families in the Nigerian society.
And again, in the home, it most time occur when your wife is pregnant. They become very aggressive at every little thing. They become very aggressive. And again, if there's no money in the home, you know, if you are not able to meet up with your financial obligation, that is the main causes of domestic violence.
In whatever form, domestic violence should be condemned. It's better to judge than to war. You can settle things amicably by being reasonable.
Gender activism must involve a balance of power in relationship in order not to arrogate too much power to the women and men who will then turn around to use such power to oppress their spouses.
No matter who the person is, the person deserves to be dignified, the person deserves utmost respect. If you respect someone, you wouldn't speak, you wouldn't use verbal abuse and speak evil of the person, you wouldn't eat the person, and you wouldn't emotionally beat down the person.
And at the slightest moments that you discover discover that you are no longer safe in the hands of your wife and you continue to live with her, it's an invitation to treat. You have just given her more room to deal with you, and she will deal with you quietly and walk away. So because if either parties die, the other party will still live.
Seeing that symptom that this person is so recalcitrant, is so violent, that it's not ready, one should flee such a situation.
As the nation protects the right of women in marriages, so also should the rights of men be protected. Also, just like women, men deserve protection from intimate partner, not brutality and abuse, and also have a right to better living as married men. U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo has called President Muhammadu Buhari to discuss ways of strengthening ties between the two countries. The telephone conversation comes more than 2 weeks after a meeting between President Buhari and his U.S. counterpart Donald Trump in Washington, where they discussed several issues including security and the economy. Mr. Pompeo congratulated Nigeria's leadership in the areas of counterterrorism, creating economic opportunity, fighting corruption, as well as advancing stability in Africa. The secretary noted the long-standing relationship between the Nigeria and American people and underscored the themes of the April 30 official working visit of President Buhari to the White House. The federal government has reiterated its commitment towards providing job opportunities for the youths. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo stated this at the formal launch of Empower Vocation and Apprenticeship Scheme in Enugu. Providing job opportunities for the youth and conducive environment is in line with the Ease of Doing Business initiative of the federal government. While addressing the beneficiaries, Professor Yemi Osinbajo asked them to be solution provider rather than job seekers, so as to contribute their quota to the development and diversifying of the Nigerian economy.
The second Niger Bridge, the Enugu-Port Harcourt Road, the East-West Road, the Shagamu-Benin Road, the Kano-Maiduguri Road, the Abuja-Lafia-Akwanga-Kefi Road, and the Lagos-Abeokuta Old Road. We're also investing heavily in rail lines across the country, the Lagos-Kano, the Lagos-Port Harcourt, the Port Harcourt-Maiduguri roads. We're investing in coaches and auxiliary infrastructure, power and social housing. All of these investments require skilled workforce, not just during construction, but from continued repair and maintenance. Recently, the President issued Executive Order 005, which mandates that where we have local technical expertise, Nigerian technicians must be engaged to do the jobs. Foreigners must not be employed to do those jobs.
The scheme is targeted at building capacity and reducing unemployment in the country. The National Assembly is leaving nothing to chance in making sure that more money is saved for the execution of development projects in the country through prudent management of collective natural resources. This was the position of the House Ad Hoc Committee investigating the utilization of 350 billion naira Natural Resources Fund at a public hearing in Abuja. The House Ad Hoc Committee investigating the utilization of 350 billion naira as a financial window for the development of the solid mineral sector is also to ascertain federal government investment opposite from solid minerals and see the development sector of the economy.
The committee has designed a framework that will effectively carry out the investigations. These include, among other things, a very broad consultation measures and site visitations where necessary.
Therefore, committee is now interfacing with relevant agencies to ascertain how much they have received from the Natural Resources Fund and evidences of presidential approval, taxes, royalties and fees collected in relevant cases, as well as utilization schedules.
as a loan in this respect.
Approval of the President Commander-in-Chief for the release of 100 million naira from the Natural Resources Fund. We have the memo here.
Now we have submitted all the required documents, the memos including the approvals for all these releases.
Speaker Yakubu Dogara explains that potentials in the solid mineral resources, if adequately unearthed and judiciously managed, are enough to solve challenges of unemployment in Nigeria.
The House should come up with recommendations to safeguard further misappropriation of natural resources funds and also recommend an appropriate legal framework.
Ad hoc committee is expected to embark on technical sessions where all issues raised will be properly addressed. It's time for business news.
Welcome to the business news tonight. Norwegian ambassador to Nigeria, Jan-Peter Gentrod, said trade volume between Norway and Nigeria is between $30 and $40 billion. Gentrod, in an interview with newsmen in Abuja, said the relationship between the two countries was cordial. According to him, the relationship between Nigeria and Norway dated back to 1880. He pledged to strengthen the relationship between the two countries by attracting more investors from Norway to explore available opportunities in Nigeria. Gentrud also said the embassy was working closely with the Nigeria-Norwegian Chamber of Commerce to promote and expand businesses between the two countries. The Senate says with the passage of Companies and Allied Matters Amendment Act and other legislation on ease of doing business, it will make laws to compel government agencies to patronize made in Nigeria products. Senate President Bukola Saraki stated this while hosting a delegation of industrialists in Abuja. The Companies and Allied Matters Repeal Act was for the first time amended to allow for opportunities such as single company registration and other support for easy registration and management of local companies. These are some of the advantages the Senate President Bukola Saraki wants the Nigerian Chamber of Commerce to take note in the interest of industrial growth. These, he added, will be complemented with more legislation that will make government agencies patronize made in Nigeria products.
Spends trillions of naira yearly on both the supplies going to imported products. The big agencies of government should do Nigerian companies have this opportunity where Chamber will be supporting the organization of economic service so that the potential of the various localities and challenges within the biggest industrial growth can be brought to the limelight for analysis and preferring of opportunities.
The total pension fund under management by pension operators rose to 7.9 trillion naira at the end of March this year, figures released by the National Pension Commission. In a statement in the same period, pension fund administrators invested a total of 7.98 billion naira of the fund in infrastructure. Figures obtained from the PENCOM revealed that the pension fund rose from 4.6 trillion naira at the end of 2014 financial period to 5.3 in 2015. For the 2016 financial period, the assets stood at 6.16 trillion naira. At the end of November 2017, the total pension assets under CPs were 7.4 trillion naira. The Commission revealed that the operators invested substantial part of the pension fund in federal government bonds, treasury bills, and state government securities. Lastly, on the business news, Shell Petroleum Development Company of Nigeria Limited has declared force majeure on exports of Borno light crude, one of the country's major source of oil revenue. Force majeure is a legal clause that allows companies to cancel or delay deliveries due to unforeseen circumstances. Reuters quoted traders as saying that surplus of unsold cargoes was so large that differentials struggled to hold steady. The SPDC, the Nigerian subsidiary of Royal Dutch Shell, said that it had declared force majeure on Borno shipment with immediate effect. It said the shutdown of the Nembe Creek truck line had prompted the force majeure. Exports of Borno light are expected to run at around 190,000 barrels per day next month. That's all we have for you tonight on the business segment of the news. Over to Idowu for the rest of the news.
You're welcome to the foreign segment of the news. Egypt's President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi has ordered the opening of the border with Gaza for the whole month of Ramadan. President al-Sisi said the measure was aimed at alleviating the burdens of the population of Gaza. Egypt opens the Rafah border with the Palestinian territory at regular intervals, but this would be the congested single opening in several years. Once occupied by Egypt, which retains control of Gaza's southern border, the territory was captured by Israel during the 1967 Middle East War. Israel withdrew its troops and around 7,000 settlers in 2005. China says it is dropping an anti-bombing probe into sorghum imports from the U.S. as the two sides discuss ways of easing trade tensions. In April, Beijing introduced a high tariff on the imports as part of a tit-for-tat trade spat with the U.S. But China's Commerce Industry Ministry has now said the measures affect consumers and are not in the public interest. The U.S. is the world's leading producer of sorghum and largest supplier of the grain to China. Sorghum is a grain used primarily to feed livestock, but it is also used to create ethanol or drinking alcohol. All of Chile's 34 Roman Catholic bishops have offered Pope Francis their resignations in the wake of child sex scandals and cover-up. They asked for forgiveness from victims and the church for their grave errors and omissions. It was not immediately clear whether the Pope had accepted the resignations. He had been criticized in Chile for his decision to ordain a bishop who is accused of covering up sexual abuse committed by a priest. He said in January that he felt pain and shame over the scandal which has rocked the Catholic Church in Chile. The bishops offered their resignation by letter after 3 days of crisis talks at the Vatican, during which the Pope handed them a 10-page document accusing Chile's church hierarchy of negligence in sex abuse cases. The EU has begun reviving legislation that will allow European companies to continue doing business with Iran. Despite US sanctions, officials say the so-called blocking statute was introduced in 1996 to circumvent US sanctions on Cuba but was never used. An update version of the measure should be enforced before 6 August, when the first sanctions take effect. It will prohibit European companies from complying with the penalties and permit compensation for affected firms. Washington is reimposing strict sanctions on Iran, which were lifted under a 2015 international deal to control the country's nuclear ambitions. The Commission, the EU executive, said the European Parliament and member states could raise objections to the statute, but the measure could also be activated sooner if there was strong political support. Prince Charles will walk Meghan Markle down the aisle on Saturday when she marries Prince Harry. Kensington Palace has said Ms. Markle's father, Thomas, is unable to attend the wedding after undergoing heart surgery. The Prince of Wales was pleased to be able to welcome Ms. Markle to the royal family in this way. Prince Harry's grandfather, the Duke of Idowu, will also attend the wedding. Buckingham Palace confirmed Prince Philip, 96, has been recovering from a hip operation. Ms. Markle's mother, Doria Ragland, will take her daughter to the wedding at St. George's Chapel in Windsor. Ms. Ragland will meet the Queen for the first time at Windsor Castle later, accompanied by Meghan, 36, and Prince Harry, 33. She has already been introduced to Prince Charles and Prince William. Let's join Moses or Jeremy for some sporting stories.
Welcome to the sports segment of the news, and let's start from the world of tennis. Rafael Nadal reached his first Italian Open semi-final since 2014 with a hard-fought victory over home player Fabio Fognini in Rome. The Spanish world number 2 won 4-6, 6-1, 6-2 to set up a last-fall clash with either Novak Djokovic or Kei Nishikori. Croatian 4th seed Marin Cilic won his quarter-final 6-3, 6-3 against Spain's Pablo Carreno Busta. Serbia's 12-time Grand Slam champion Djokovic meets Japan's Nishikori later on Friday. German second seed and defending champion Alexander Zverev, who beat British number 1 Kyle Edmund in the last 16, faces Belgium's David Goffin. 7-time champion Nadal needs to win the Masters title to reclaim the world number 1 spot from Roger Federer. And now to football stories. A little trickery was employed for the 1998 World Cup draw to ensure France and Brazil did not meet until the final. Former UEFA President Michel Platini has claimed. The French hosted and won their first World Cup 20 years ago, beating Brazil 3-0 in the final in Paris. Former France captain Platini was on the tournament organizing committee. When we organized the schedule, we did a little trickery, he told radio station France Bleu Sports. Platini further claimed that France did not spend 6 years organizing the World Cup, not to do some little shenanigans, saying same applies further to other World Cup hosts. Real Madrid forward Cristiano Ronaldo will be fit for the Champions League final against Liverpool in a week's time, says manager Zinedine Zidane. Ronaldo has not played since spraining his ankle during the El Clasico draw with Barcelona earlier this month, but could feature against Villarreal in La Liga on Saturday. Real will attempt to win their straight Champions League title when they meet Liverpool in Kiev on 26 May. Zidane added Ronaldo, who will captain Portugal at this Summer World Cup in Russia, is available for the match at Villarreal as Real try to finish second behind rivals Barcelona. Still in England, goalkeeper Joe Hart says his omission from England's squad for next month's World Cup in Russia is hard to take. Hart, 31, has 75 caps and was England's first choice goalkeeper at the past 3 major tournaments, but was left out of Gareth Southgate's 23-man squad. Arsenal midfielder Jack Wilshere said on Thursday he could have made a real impact after he was also left out. The 26-year-old said he should be on the plane to Russia as he has felt fit, sharp and strong all season. And lastly, in the world of sports, Manchester United manager Jose Mourinho says they will leave it late before deciding whether forward Romelu Lukaku is fit to face Chelsea in Saturday's FA Cup final. Lukaku picked up an ankle injury during the win over Arsenal at the end of last month, but could be back in time to face his old club at Wembley. Winger Anthony Martial will be available after a knee injury suffered in training. Mourinho said Martial is fit, but Lukaku will have to wait until the last moment. However, Morio does not necessarily think the club needs to win on Saturday in order to make it a successful season. And that's all we have for you on Sport News. Over to you, Idowu.
Up next is entertainment news. Don't go away. You're welcome. On Tuesday, May 15, 2018, Nollywood industry once again mourned the death of one of its talented members, Aishat Abimbola, popularly known as Omoge Campus. Let's join Anuluapo Adikoya for details of the cause of her death.
Ọmọdé o mama tètè débè tó bá wá mú àtètè débè ó dá mi lójú pé ó lè mú àtètè kọ èmi tí ó bá wá mú àtètè kọ èmi ó dá mi lójú tó àdá pé ọkọ báyìí ló mama.
Aisha Abimbola, also known as Omoge Campus, following the role she played in a Yoruba movie, Omoge Campus, is said to have died of breast cancer in a hospital in Canada. A colleague, Bisola Badmos, broke the news of her death on her Instagram page. Tributes have been pouring in for the 46-year-old late actress by her colleagues as they expressed shock over a sudden demise. Late Abimbola has been buried according to Islamic rites in the city of Toronto on Thursday, May 17, with all funeral proceedings taken care of by Heritage Funeral Center. However, Nollywood stars have also revealed plans to honor the late Abimbola back home. This was communicated by actor Saheed Balogun via his Instagram account. He disclosed that a candlelight procession and 80th night would be held on Thursday, May 24, while the 8th-day Fidal would be observed on Friday, May 25, 2018. But venues of where the activities will be held have not yet been disclosed. It was revealed that Aisha Abimbola predicted her own death the day she worked bitterly on cancer patient movie set titled Koto.
You look good, baby. You're still beautiful.
Her death is coming a year after the demise of another Nollywood actress, Moji Olaya. Aisha Abimbola is survived by 2 children. May God rest her soul.
Èmi àti ọjọ́ sọ báyìí bó ló ṣe wá dàbí kí ló dé bó ló ṣe ṣe.
Anoluwapo Adekoya, OGTV Entertainment News.
May our soul rest in perfect peace. The All Progressives Congress APC Ogun State Chapter has formally announced that the governorship slot for the 2019 election has been zoned to Ogun West Senatorial District. Rising from a stakeholders meeting in Abeokuta, the party says a mutual agreement was reached to have the slot zoned to Ogun West. The party's chairman, Alhaji Tajuddin Limboye, who made the announcement, said the decision is born out of fairness and equity. Meanwhile, the State Congress of the All Progressives Congress APC Ogun State Chapter is slated to hold on Saturday, 19th of May 2018. Time is 9 in the morning. The Congress holds at the open field helipad behind June 12 Cultural Center, Kuto, Abeokuta. The release adds that the event is strictly for party delegates. In the meantime, the Traffic Compliance and Enforcement Corps (TRACE) has advised delegates to the Congress to park their vehicles inside the MKO Abiola International Stadium, Abeokuta. In a release by Corps Commander Shemi Ogunyemi, delegates will then take a walk to the Congress ground as no vehicle would be allowed to enter or park within the Congress ground. To aid vehicular and human movement, trace operatives would be strategically positioned for direction and guidance, and therefore advised all delegates to adhere to all arrangements. We shall now serve you the weather forecast. And just before we go on the news, every success is usually an admission ticket to a new set of decisions. And let's quickly remind you of our top stories. The 31st batch of Ogun State Certificate of Occupancy beneficiaries has received title documents. President Muhammadu Buhari and U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo had telephone conversation for improved bilateral ties. Egypt has opened Gaza border for the period of Ramadan. Nigeria-Norway trade volume hit $40 billion mark. Former UEFA boss Major Platini admitted to 1998 World Cup draw manipulation. And that's it on the news for tonight. Many thanks to you for your time. I am Idowu Fabajo. Good night.